Buying and selling a home can be frustrating for both the buyer and the seller, especially if the home's inspector finds foundation issues. This could jeopardize the sale. Stay tuned as we have a conversation with a realtor about foundation issues found during a home sale. Hi, I'm Nolan Beery, the Director of Sales Development at AccuLevel. And today I'm fortunate to have with me an FC Tucker Realtor, Amanda Gordon, who has been recognized as FC Tucker of Lafayette Realtor's leading sales producer with a licensed team member and has been an FC Tucker Executive Club member and multiple Sales and Listing Broker of the Month awards. Welcome, Amanda. If you don't mind, just start us off and tell us a little bit about how you got started in real estate, your background, and being recognized for all those awesome awards and kind of what got those awards for you and what's helped you be so successful.
Well, Nolan, I am a wife and a mother and a grandmother. Busy, busy, busy. But my husband and I transferred from Orange County, California to West Lafayette about 26 years ago.
Very cool.
We fell in love with the community and the people in it. And we've never looked back. A few years later, I got into the real estate industry, and today I find myself helping those community members to realize their real estate goals or dreams, whether that's a first-time buyer or seller, or somebody maybe transitioning from their first time into that next level of home, or maybe someone who's transitioning out of the real estate ownership, including estates and things like that, as well as investors with their portfolioos. So we stay really busy.
Cover everything.
Yeah,
right?
we do.
Awesome.
We really work hard to be, I work hard to be the forever realtor. You know, I want them to, I'm the go-to. Call me if you're gonna, Amanda, should I put a $500,000 addition on my house? Am I gonna get a return for my investment?
Yep.
Call me.
Yep.
Call me.
Yep.
Let's talk about the market.
Talk about those decisions before you make them, right?
Absolutely.
Very cool. So is it common to find those foundation issues on inspection report, or how often is it to see that maybe in a home transaction?
It's not super common, but it does happen. And more frequently than I'd like to see it happen. But you know, as a community in this area, we have a lot of older homes, a lot of basements. You know, where I'm from, there's not a lot of that basement stuff. So in homes that have basements or older homes, we have a lot of beautiful old architecture. We see it more frequently there. However, you can have a foundation issue on a home with a slab as well. So when we see it, we just got to figure out ways to fix it and move forward.
Well, and it's one of those things, right? It's not something anybody looks forward to.
No.
It's a problem that it can be a sticking point at any point in the transaction. And a lot of times it's expensive to get fixed. And so, yeah, no, I understand. We know people aren't always super excited to have us come in and look at it. So when those things come up in the inspection, how can that affect that purchasing process or even the purchasing or selling of the home?
Right. It can affect it greatly. Foundation issues can affect the value, the overall value of the home. Pretty astronomically, as you are probably aware. It can also affect the time in which the transaction from the accepted agreement to close takes place, because there's no guarantee on when contractors are going to be available to have you if you've decided to fix it. So it can really delay your closing. And also it can just completely scare off a potential buyer altogether.
Yeah, that word foundation repair.
It's a scary
right?
word for people.
It is a scary word. What do you see, and this is something we see in our side of inspection reports, I'd be interested in your thoughts on this. Do you see foundation repair get called out as the problem or the question, even if it's maybe interior wood beams or sagging floors? Do you see what I'm asking? Do you see that no matter what, it seems like it's a foundation if there's signs of any settlement, even though it may just be a sagging floor and not the actual true foundation problem? Do you see that get kind of overlap much?
Oh yeah, we see the overlap. It does happen. A whole house inspector is going to err on the side of caution for the customer, which is good. We want to know what's going on in that house. Is the structure affected or not? It's hard until we get the professionals, the experts out there to tell us, is it just normal settling or is it indeed a major flaw in the foundation that needs to be repaired?
Yeah, that's a tough thing too, right? Is any home ages, you know that there's some natural movement of that home. So what's normal, what needs repaired, that's really important. Answer's fine. And you talked a little bit about time. What do you see typically when that comes up? Is that when, and this is just almost for my information, but do you see that inspection report comes back and it's flagged really close to when you're ready to close? Or is this early on in the process? Or when should people really be thinking about, hey, this is a priority? Because if something does come up, you're kind of up against that close date, right?
Yeah,
and
you
so
are.
then that really pushes things.
Right, and right now, given the market that we're in, we find ourselves struggling to find the contractors available, right? Because everybody's just pulled 9 million different directions. It's never a bad idea to look at it ahead of time before you put the house on the market, quite frankly. But if you know that it's a problem, but sometimes you just don't. You know, people aren't crawling around their crawl space all the time to try to figure this out. You know, I don't know about you, but I'm not into bugs and stuff, so I'm not down there. So when it does get discovered, it really can potentially delay things. Most commonly, you will have the whole house inspection done right away.
Okay.
That's the goal.
What's kind of your guys' process once something like a foundation concern comes up on an inspection? What are those next steps that the homeowner's doing, that maybe you're doing? How much even do you guys share that responsibility on making sure that those next steps are taken between you and the buyer or the seller?
Sure, everything's hand in hand, really. The next step would be, you know, the inspector's going to flag that as suspicious. Then the next step, that's going to prompt us to start talking about calling foundation professionals and/or structural engineers that can come out and assess the problem, make recommendations on what kind of repairs need to be made to ensure the structural integrity of the property. Then the buyer and seller will come back together and decide how to move forward or if they choose to move forward. And should repairs be what they choose to do, then the next step would be to call professionals like yourselves at AccuLevel and to take care of that for us so we can move to the closing table.
So then you were talking about when you do the work, right, as part of that whole process and that time. How often do you see that the work gets done maybe after closing and the money for a repair gets held in escrow versus something that has to be fixed before closing? What's that look like from your side?
I think that people don't often even realize that that can happen. So yes, it does happen, and it is very dependent on the type of transaction we're dealing with. Are we dealing with a loan and a lender? Are we dealing with a cash buyer? So all of those things are part of the dynamic of that sale and whether or not it's done before closing or after closing.
Yeah, no, I think that's very good. And we see all the different things, right? From the job that needs looked at tomorrow so they can get to closing. And then so it's always good to hear from a professional kind of what that backside. We never get to hear what those conversations or what affects those conversations. We just kind of go with it.
Absolutely.
But something I think you said early on too, you brought up a structural engineer as part of the process. And I think that's such a unique advantage over just even having someone like us, a professional, come out, right? And I'm sure you've ran into this, but we're not allowed to give reports on what we think is going on. We're contractors, so we can only quote what we can fix. Right. And so there's probably a lot of times where you have somebody come out and it's not a real problem, and it's just a crack. And to where we can't say it's just a crack and the foundation's never going to move again, right? We can't say that. We're not licensed insured engineers like that. We're contractors. We're paid to fix it. What other things like that, because I think that's such a good piece you touched on, do you see in that world that's like, hey, it might be better to start here, and even though, because engineers cost money up front. So talk a little bit about that advantage you see from that perspective, maybe even beyond what I kind of see from that.
You mean from utilizing a structural engineer?
Yeah.
Well, really just what you said. in the first place, it's really great to get more eyes than less. But a structural engineer is just that. They're going to be able to really give a client a very good picture of what's happening. Now, a structural engineer is money up front, and nobody really likes that whole scenario. But when you're talking about, you know, whether or not your garage is going to slide off into a moat, well, you maybe want to get a structural engineer out there to tell you. Because I can't tell you, I'm just a real estate agent.
Yeah, and we love it too, because it's that clear, it's just, this is what needs to be done, right? And I mean, you probably see it from any trade. You bring 3 contractors to look at a problem, you're probably bringing 3 different opinions to the same problem. And it's just that clear cut, hey, this is what's going on in that. Sure. So we love to see it too, and I think it helps build that expectation for a seller or a buyer, what to expect from the different parties.
Yeah, you got to know your home. Home ownership is a responsibility of all parties involved, so you got to know what's going on with your house.
Yeah. That's all the questions I have for you. Is there anything that you maybe have for me, or is there any last final words you'd like to tell the beautiful people?
You know, I appreciate being here today. Thanks for the opportunity. I think what you guys are doing to educate the community is a great thing. People have lots of questions, and sometimes people are just flat afraid to ask. So I guess I would tell the community, ask questions. Ask questions, it's always good.
Love it. So thank you, Amanda, for being on the Foundation Repair and Waterproofing channel so much. To schedule an appointment with one of our project advisors, you can give us a call or go to our homepage, acculevel.com, and click the Book a Consultation button. Fill out the form and we'll contact you within the next business day. Do you have more questions about your home, whether buying or selling them? If so, please leave them in the comments below. Check out the description for more videos and blog articles on crawl space and foundation repair. And don't forget to hit that like button and give us a thumbs up. We greatly appreciate it.